Look, I'm not going to pretend that I didn't say that this would happen ahead of time. I am going to somewhat gloat just a tad. Just a tad. I'm going to gloat just a little bit. As you all know, I am a third-party voter, especially when it comes to national elections. Now, when it comes to the mayor or something, or city council, I might vote for somebody. But when it comes to the national elections, I vote third-party. And this is why. This is a big part of the reason why Joe Biden and the Democrats have betrayed their base in record time. Okay? In record time. Now, how? You're saying, Scott, how did Joe Biden and the Democrats betray their base? Now, this entire year, the Democrats have been saying to their base, look, you got to vote for us because we are going to codify abortion rights in the law, and we are going to cancel student debt, at least some of it. And so they've been trumpeting this. They've been going all around the country talking about abortion and canceling student debt. These are the two things that the Democrats, this is why you got to vote for the Democrats, because they are going to give you abortions and cancel your student debt. Now, as soon as they win this election, they're going to do all these things that they promised that they were going to do for you. So Tuesday happens, or should I say last Tuesday happens, and the midterms happen, and the Democrats don't look like they're going to get beaten down as badly as they thought. They actually retain the Senate, and they did lose the House, but they're definitely live in the House still. They're not beaten into submission. They thought they might lose 30 seats or something. It looks like they may just, lose a few. So they're still alive. Now, here's where the deception comes in. Joe Biden went around saying that he would codify abortion rights into law. And as soon as the election was over, and as soon as they got your votes, Joe Biden was asked at a news conference in Bali, Indonesia, what Americans could expect Congress to do about abortion access. Biden says, well, I don't think they can expect much of anything other than we're going to maintain our positions. I don't think there's enough votes to codify something unless something unusual happens in the House. And I think we're going to get very close in the House. But I don't think we're going to make it. Now, look, the Democrats have had the House and the Senate and the White House for the past 2 years. They could have done a lot of stuff just with having control of both houses and the White House. Now, first they say the parliamentarian. It's this parliamentarian. But they can fire the parliamentarian anytime they want, folks. George W. Bush did. George W. Bush didn't like what he was getting from the parliamentarian, so he fired her. Okay? The parliamentarian is just somebody who makes a suggestion. That's it. You're not obligated to follow what they say. You can either fire them or just say, okay, good to know. We're going to do what we want. First it was the parliamentarian. Then it was Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. Oh, my God. Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema. Or as they should properly be known as the rotating villains. What's a rotating villain? A rotating villain is what political parties do. They choose somebody in power in their party, in their own party, who's not up for election, usually, who's safe or in a safe district, and they have that person take a very unpopular stance that will make sure that the rest of the party does not have to go along with something they don't want to do. So basically, Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema are doing the bidding of the mainstream Democratic hoi polloi, or should I say the well, not the hoi polloi, the upper crusts of the Democratic Party. they're there to provide a convenient excuse as to why the Democrats couldn't get anything done for the last 2 years, or why they had to consistently negotiate against themselves. Mind you, the Republicans were not in power. They will just have marginal leadership in the House now. Kevin McCarthy will just kind of be the majority leader in the House, the Speaker. So now they have an even more excuse not to get anything done, because they can say, look, the Republicans control the House by a few seats, and so now we can't do anything for you. You know how we said we were going to fight to the death for you to have abortion access, and we were going to fight to the death so you can do all this, that, and the other? Oh, we were just joking. It was a joke. We were kidding. You know. And so not only did they step back immediately from the ledge on abortion, which, hey, look, whether you agree with abortion or not, you should agree that politicians should have to do what they say, or at least fight for what they say. Okay? The parliamentarian rotating villains of a filibuster that if they truly wanted to, they could get rid of. All these things are just tools that parties use so that they don't have to do anything to actually help you. And if you keep giving them your vote, they're going to keep doing this. And that's why people always call me and say, oh, you need to run for office. I go, I am not a politician. I have no desire to join one of the two main gangs in Washington, D.C. I didn't join a gang here in the city of Gary, Indiana, and I ain't going to join a gang in Washington, D.C. either. I don't want to join one of the D.C. gangs. And unfortunately, we're at a place where third parties are not strong enough to really win any national elections at this point. And so immediately the Democrats stepped back from abortion in spite of getting a record number of young women and hell, just women in general to come out to just stem the tide, just to prevent them from getting murdered in the midterm elections. So you would think that would be enough for one party that just by the skin of their teeth maintain the Senate and just sort of, are treading water in the House. Nope. An appeals court just lost in another court battle on Monday when a federal appeals court panel agreed to a preliminary injunction halting the program while an appeal plays out. The ruling by the 3-judge panel from the 8th U.S. City Circuit Appeals in St. Louis came days after a federal judge in Texas blocked the program, saying it usurped Congress's power to make laws. The Texas case was appealed, and the administration is likely to appeal the 8th Circuit ruling as well. The plan would cancel $10,000 in student debt for those making less than $125,000 or household with less than $250,000. Households with $250,000 in income. Pell Grant recipients who typically demonstrate more financial need would get an additional $10,000 in debt forgiven. The cancellation applies to federal student loans used to attend undergraduate and graduate schools, along with Parent Plus loans. A federal judge on October 20 allowed the program to proceed, but the 8th Circuit the next day temporarily put the forgiveness plan while it considered an effort by the states of Nebraska, Missouri, Iowa, Kansas, Arkansas, and South Carolina to block the program. Now, see, if you're not somebody who pays attention to politics, you would say, well, these Trump judges, obviously, these Trump right-wing Republican judges ruled against Joe Biden. What can you expect him to do about that? That's not his fault. That's not his problem. But that is until you look behind the curtain and see that this bill was essentially written with a poison pill in it. Joe Biden could have directed the education secretary to cancel people's debts using the Compromise and Settlement Authority granted in the Higher Education Act of 1965. But instead, his administration invoked a different and more limited legal authority. It was this limited legal authority that the Texas judge formally took issue with. So Joe Biden purposely, and his administration purposely crafted the student debt cancellation bill in a way, his student cancellation in a way that it could easily be overturned. Instead of using a much more rock solid and dependable way to do it, that would make it harder for them to overturn. Now, why would I be this cynical? And it's because it's Joe Biden. Joe Biden never wanted to cancel student debt. This was a man, remember, who made it harder for people to purge themselves of student debt with his bankruptcy bills. More than a decade ago. No, this is when he was still in Congress. This is before he was the vice president even. Joe Biden always wanted to make it harder for you to get rid of your student debt. A lot of people blame Trump judges for this, but the Democrats approved a lot of Donald Trump's judges. Why did you approve of the judges? You knew they were Trump judges when you voted for them. I'm not talking about the Democratic voters. I'm talking about the people in Washington, D.C. Now, this goes back to, again, with the sort of marijuana pardoning that didn't let anybody out of jail. Again, Joe Biden is somebody who was a longtime drug warrior. He spent many years, many years, putting black people and working class and poor people in jail for drugs. His administration fired anybody who had ever smoked marijuana, in spite the fact that Kamala Harris, his vice president, openly jokes about smoking weed and listening to Tupac and Snoop Dogg when she was in college. But they fired all of the people in their administration who had ever smoked weed in their lives. This is who Joe Biden is. This is who Joe Biden is. This is who he's always been. And so now the record would show it was the mean old Republicans. It's the mean old Republicans who are preventing Joe Biden and the Democrats from doing what they need to do for you, the people who went out and voted for them in record numbers to keep them from getting their behinds handed to them. But in reality, the true betrayal was from the very people that you trusted to get you the justice that you wanted. All right, folks, I got to go to my first break. When we come back, we're going to talk about these fired workers in New York City who are being reinstated. They are being reinstated. Thank the Lord. We'll be right back here on WLTH 1370 AM.